Hello, my name is Vincent, and this is my iPhone engineering improvement slideshow. So firstly, I've identified some problems of the latest generation of iPhones. And firstly, the Face ID does not work with the mask on, and it could be inconvenient at times, meaning that sometimes it just randomly doesn't work, and it prompts you to uh, enter your passcode, which kind of destroys the whole point of the Face ID, which is a quick and easy way to get into your iPhone. And the battery life can be short, especially when used in the long term. So when you're using your iPhone for about more than 2 to 3 years, the battery life will usually drain by a decent amount, usually to 80% of its original capacity or so. And I think that the iPhone needs a little bit more screen space, as a large part of it is just a frame. And also, there's no headphone jack, so a lot of headphones that people have um, purchased cannot be used on current iPhones, and you're forced to buy really expensive $200 AirPods if you want to listen to music. So some solutions that I came up with are firstly for the Face ID. We can either place a fingerprint detector inside the phone, or we can develop Retinal ID, which uses identification with the retina instead of your face, which will actually solve the mask problem because mask will not cover your eyes. And in terms of battery life, what we could do is we could implement a bigger lithium-ion battery so that it would have more capacity, or we could optimize or downclock the CPU inside the iPhone itself. And finally, we can increase the current limit for charging, as really fast charging with higher currents definitely damages the battery life for the iPhone. And for the not enough screen space issue, we can get rid of the large notch at the top of the iPhone, and we can have glass bend around the screen. As for the headphone jack, we just need to re-implement one. So for my planning slash implementation, for the Face ID, we can implement an internal fingerprint scanner uh, inside of the iPhone. And what this does is that we can just place our finger uh, on the glass, and it will detect our fingerprint through there. Uh, the reason why I didn't decide to go with the Retina scanner is that it would still require the notch in on the front of the iPhone, which would take up screen space. As for the battery life, we can implement a bigger lithium-ion battery. However, there's a problem with that. Um, we need to create space in order to add the bigger battery in. And so to do that, we can just remove the haptics because users frequently disable the haptics options, and nobody really uses the haptics anyways. We can also optimize or downclock the CPU. So basically, we can lessen the power consumption of the CPU by optimizing it, or we can limit the chip to a A14 chip, which prevents CPUs from using more power, because the newer generations of chips will use more power at the benefit of increased performance, but many iPhone users do not need this unnecessary increase in performance. Um, to get rid of the not enough screen space problem, we can get rid of the notch by removing Face ID altogether and using the fingerprint detector uh, inside the phone. and we can have glass bend around the screen by using a better manufacturing process and using a more malleable glass, which would be able to maintain integrity while bent. Also, uh, to create space for the headphone jack, we would need to get rid of one of the speakers. So typically in the iPhone, there are two speakers at the bottom, uh, and they are placed next to the charging port. So we could just get rid of one and add the headphone jack there. So for my designs and prototypes, well, this is my first one, and basically my thinking was that this is how we implement um, the increased screen space. We can have the glass bend around the corners, but however, I decided against it in my second prototype because I thought that it would be way too costly and it would require a more powerful CPU, which which goes against my idea of creating a better battery life. So uh, it's just not worth the cost of using a CPU which requires way more power. So in my second design, this is my fingerprint scanner uh, in the middle of the phone, and this is the headphone jack, and yeah, that's basically it.